This week, here on our free preview on YouTube, join us as we take a look at the October jobs numbers and was it considered abysmal? For now, sit back, relax, and join us as we take you through the numbers. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Lindsay.
How are you?
I'm doing great. It finally feels like fall. Got Halloween in the back burner. And
yes. How was your little sloth? Did she make out well with candy?
She's still a little young, but it's funny for me what she knows is a lollipop. And I'm like, how did you learn this? Someone's been going behind my back. But yeah, she had a lot of fun, got some good chocolate.
Yeah, our kids brought home strictly Butterfingers because happens to be one of my the candies that you tell your kids, you're like, make sure you get the Butterfinger.
Exactly. For the mom tax.
Yeah, but also my partner's favorite as well. So we had all four of our kids, our blended family out there with a mission for Butterfingers.
Cute,
and it's
funny.
Dark out, so you don't see, but then you get home and you're putting all the candy, consolidating it.
Yeah.
And we're just like, wow, our kids really love us.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
That's so fun.
It was really fun. So, and a really warm night, too.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We don't get that much here in New Hampshire.
No,
We
there are
usually
years you freeze.
Oh, yeah. And then you're trying to put the coat over the costume. And no, you can't see my costume if I have a coat on. And
Yeah, this year it was 75. It was the perfect Halloween.
I actually wore shorts.
Did you?
Well, so my husband and I dressed up as the zookeepers. And
Awesome.
so I didn't realize I don't have khaki pants anymore. I don't know how, but I had khaki shorts. So we made it work.
That's awesome. Oh, I need to see pictures. I haven't
I'll
seen
post them,
pictures.
yeah?
Yeah, I need to see them. But with the close of one fun holiday, we have this other major event coming up.
Less a holiday, although at least in my town, the kids are off school because we use the high school to vote.
Same.
So I think that's more common up this way. But yes, Election Day is probably might even be in the past when some folks are watching this episode.
Yes, very, very true.
Yeah.
So Tuesday, November 5th. It's a day that all are waiting for in one way, shape, or form. So always a good way to start off by us reminding everybody that ITR Economics is an apolitical firm.
Correct.
So we will not be sharing information leaning one direction or another. I will not put you on the spot and ask you who you are voting for.
No, and it's great that in our office we don't even talk about that. It's lovely. It's kind of an escape from this is such a polarized issue this year, especially.
Yes, I was sharing a story with you earlier about how I was walking into Target yesterday, and there was these two older women, and they were just a hoot. One of them was literally walking behind her friend, at the heels, squawking about something she had seen on the news or something like that, and the other one sticking her fingers in her ears, I don't want to talk about this. So it's just funny to kind of observe the conversation out in public right now, especially.
It really is.
But you're right, it doesn't happen here in the office. And I think the reason that it doesn't happen here in the office is because we all work in the land of numbers and economics. And it's one thing that I have learned, and I think I actually said this out loud in a conversation surrounding the election in my own home, red or blue, you can still make green.
I love that. That is my favorite
so
quote.
many times here.
I know. It's just, it rings so true, right? That we can't, go vote. Let me be absolutely clear. Go vote, do your duty, right? But each individual, we're not going to sway the direction of the country, right? We'll, do our part. We'll be part of something. But at the end of the day, what we have found time and time and again, every time ITR runs this analysis, is that one person really can't change the course of the entire economy, even if that one person is in the Oval Office. So the economy doesn't have a favorite political party. I would just feel so disingenuous sitting here being like, no, you have to vote this way because the economy said so. And
very true. It makes your job a little easier, actually.
It really does. It really, really does. So I'm glad personally that is the outcome, that we can all just take a breath, take a step back, and not maybe think that, if our candidate doesn't win tomorrow, that, oh no, that is the end of the world and the sky is falling and the economy is going to come crashing down, or whatever else it is, right?
Yeah.
There are clearly social issues at play. There are clearly certain policies that would be put forward under one or the other.
Right. And that's what we always say. We always say
Right.
we won't talk about politics, but we can talk about policy. And so the first article that we'll start with today is on that topic. The final report before presidential election shows just 12,000 jobs added after hurricanes and strikes. So the U.S. businesses added only 12,000 jobs in October. Economists were previously projecting that number to come in around 100,000. So obviously a big discrepancy there.
Big miss, yeah.
And but then there's this kind of thing that we talked about in recent episodes as well, where we had the hurricanes, we had the labor strikes. So will there be this temporary downturn and this big rebound? And then again, like I said, the big question here is what impact will this have on voters' opinions at the polls tomorrow?
Right.
So I'll start here by saying, to kind of quote you as you were quoted in this particular
I was quoted in this article, yes.
Yeah. October jobs were abysmal was the word that you used.
In hindsight, I wish I hadn't said abysmal, but it is abysmal.
Yeah.
I'm afraid I fell into that trap of speaking too excitedly. But yeah, we were expecting close to 100,000 jobs and we came in at 12. That is a huge miss. But there was just so much noise.
You're right. And maybe the miss itself was abysmal, but
Exactly.
the number maybe isn't so shocking when you break it down.
I just don't think this number is really what matters right now. So
Right.
I'm sorry, I'll let you read the rest of the...
No, so no, I wasn't even going to continue on with the quote, but I did want to ask about what about the unemployment rate? Because you felt it very important in this article to distinguish the difference between the two. So talk to us about the October jobs numbers versus the unemployment rate and why it's important to look at them separately.
And I'm so glad that Casey Quinlan is the reporter who wrote this article. And she did such a good job in this article of just outlining, yes, we got the headline right. That was a big miss and that's going to draw eyeballs, draw clicks. But she was so fair in bringing up, the unemployment rate, which is probably at this point a more accurate gauge of what's really going on. That held steady at 4.1%. And she really, I think, as much as we pick on articles for being too frothy, right, and too exciting,
right,
she was very fair in her treatment of this. So the unemployment rate, that comes from a slightly different survey than the overall payrolls number, that 12,000 that we're looking at.
Okay.
And one is sourced from businesses and one is sourced from individuals, workers. And we can get a disconnect. Sometimes we've seen this, right? We've talked about in the past why these two aren't moving in concert with each other.
Right.
With things like strikes. And again, 33,000 Boeing workers currently on strikes.
Right.
You get potentially a different result in the way those surveys are asked and because you're asking different people. So it's very possible that if you ask a striking worker on that household survey, are you employed? They say, yeah, I'm absolutely employed. I'm just not at work today because I'm on strike.
Right.
That would be check, I'm employed. If you ask their employer, is this person employed? Is that a job? They'd say, hey, they're not here. They're on strike. This isn't a job as far as I'm concerned.
Right. They're not being paid.
Right. And so it's a difference here, a critical difference. But overall, that unemployment rate, it in this particular case cuts through a little bit more of that noise, those temporary dislocations, which again, we should see numbers bounce back by this month, by next month, certainly as a lot of those businesses hit by the hurricanes either start back up, right? A lot of the rebuilding, in fact, is only going to spur that further. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we get some end to all of these labor tensions and strikes so that we can get folks back to work. That will just be cleaner in future results. But again, limited impact to this report. We didn't see it on that household survey driving the unemployment rate. And I think that's why it's important to note those two are different.
Right. And another thing that was in here, when they kind of broke down, what segments of the jobs market was up or down, or who was contributing to these major, this major miss, I guess, was, looking at the manufacturing sector. Obviously, the reason for that is this big Boeing strike, like you said.
Exactly.
I think that they even said, that it was forecasted to fall by 50,000 jobs, and it came in pretty close around there for the manufacturing sector. I mean,
it was down 46,000 jobs, of which, again, 33,000 Boeing strikers.
Right. So that, I mean, that makes a lot of sense when you look at it that way. But I thought the other interesting thing that they were talking about within here was the hours worked. Hours worked somehow remained the same. So how does that happen?
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Makes it all feel like it's a temporary dislocation.
Yeah, what I hear there is that even with 33,000 workers on strike,
Right.
to me, hours worked, productivity wasn't lost during the strike.
So hours worked has, there are just more levers you can pull. You can ask folks to do overtime. And in this current job market, we've seen more, I'll say interest in overtime, right? You get paid at an overtime rate. And some workers are seeing this as kind of a perk of the job. If I can get overtime, I can be paid at that higher hourly rate. So they're willing to do it. And that's a kind of quick flip lever that businesses can pull. I need overtime hours this week. I don't need overtime next week. And that kind of makes up some of that gap, right? It's not a permanent job that would then be lost if I don't need you. You don't have excess capacity. It's just someone coming in longer.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So, I mean, it sounds like, well, everybody else is out on strike. Somebody's picking up the slack.
Some non-union workers,
some non-union worker, and hopefully they're making out well.
Yes.
There was another quote actually from yourself within this article that says, "I think that the Fed has signaled pretty clearly that they will not be hanging on this one jobs number. They know everything that went into it, the hurricanes, the Boeing strikes, etc." So from the sounds of it, the Fed is not likely to make any big changes later on this week based on the October jobs number.
Based on this one number, I can't imagine. I want to say very well said on that quote, because that's you took the words literally out of my mouth.
Yeah.
They knew what was going into this. They have really strong methodology. And so for them to say, because that's the one question we're getting, because jobs disappointed so much, will they cut by 50 basis points instead of 25? On the other hand, I'm also simultaneously getting the question that because last Wednesday's GDP release came out so strong, will they maybe not cut at all because the economy's healthy? And I really don't see either of those. I mean, they're not offsetting questions, but neither of them are really hitting the core question, which is what is the pace the Fed has intended to do? What have they been signaling? And really, where is the balance between inflation, which we'll talk about in a minute, still, spoiler alert, not quite to that 2% target, and the jobs balance, right? The kind of full employment side of the mandate. So if you look at market probability, apparently they agree with me this time. A 25 basis point cut is almost certain by the implied probability. Today we have, depending on which metric you read, I saw one that said 0.2% was the likelihood. Another said 1.5% likelihood of a 50 basis point cut.
Okay,
but
so that means
overwhelming majority of folks think 25 basis points is on the table for this week.
Okay. And that's all the time we have for today here on our free preview on YouTube. Remember to like and subscribe. And if you'd like to subscribe to full-length episodes, please click on the link in the description below. But until next time, bye, Lauren.
Bye, Lindsay.